to our Facebook Live segment here at Aquarium Niagara. Today we are going to be talking with Kathy about anemones and clownfish. So, Kathy, can you tell us what is so special about the relationship between clownfish and anemones?
Yes, so clownfish and anemones have what's called a symbiotic relationship. Now, symbiotic can actually mean a couple different things. There are 3 different types of symbiosis, and actually, as we go through this video, if you want to submit in the comments which type of symbiosis you think this is, we'll read it out loud. So the first type is called mutualism, where both parties benefit. So like a bumblebee and a pollinating flower. And then the second type is called commensalism. And commensalism is where one of them benefits and the other one really doesn't care. So like barnacles on a giant whale. It doesn't really bother them. And then the third type is parasitism, where one benefits and the other one does not benefit. So like fleas or ticks on a dog. So if you guys want to guess which type this is, mutualism, commensalism, or parasitism, definitely submit it in the comments. So anemones and clownfish, like I said, they have a symbiotic relationship. So clownfish, they move through anemones, they move through the tentacles, and they help water flow, they help introduce oxygen, they produce waste, which the anemone can absorb, and they chase away predators that might eat the anemone. So there's actually fish that are coral-eating fish that will probably go after the anemone, but the clownfish says, not my anemone, and they keep them away. Meanwhile, the clownfish has a safe home that the anemone provides for it. It provides a shelter. And clownfish, depending on the species, will probably not travel more than 2 feet to a couple yards from the anemone in their entire lives.
And why is that, do you think?
Well, clownfish, contrary to what most people may think, they're actually not the best swimmers. So they move slowly, they more hover, they might move in like little birds, but not enough to get away from predators. Anemones, though, they have a powerful defense. They have nematocysts, which can sting and attack predators. So clownfish are nice and safe in that anemone home.
Now you said that they have nematocysts and they can sting, but how does that benefit the clownfish when they are living inside of that environment?
That is a great question. A question that a lot of people have, and unfortunately a question that still is up for debate. There are a lot of different hypotheses. So a hypothesis, for those of you who don't know, is if someone does research and then they come up with an educated guess. This is not fact, but it's what the science is telling us right now. So one of the hypotheses is that clownfish have a really, really thick mucus, more than other fish. So they're safe for those nematocysts. Another hypothesis is there's something in its mucus specifically that protects them. Another is maybe they take part of the anemone's mucus and that helps protect it too. And I'm saying mucus, so I just realized I didn't explain what that was. So all fish, clownfish and non-clownfish, have this kind of slimy coating on them, and it protects them, just like skin helps protect them. So those are just some of the ways that the clownfish can stay safe, and honestly, we don't really quite know exactly which way it is.
That's a very good answer, Kathy. So, I noticed in here that we have some clownfish that are larger, and then we have some clownfish that are smaller. Can you kind of talk about how the clownfish dynamic works in this exhibit?
Yes, so you'll also notice that sometimes there are multiple clownfish in one anemone. So it's not just one clownfish, one anemone. They kind of have a family structure, in a way, a household per anemone. So there'll be 2 dominant or bigger clownfish. One is male and one is female. And then there'll be some smaller ones, what we call adolescents or teenagers or, children that kind of stay in there too. And they'll never mature as long as those bigger clownfish are there. Now, if you're a baby clownfish and you're coming up and you have an anemone all to yourself, you can take it over and you will actually be male. But if another clownfish comes up too, then you're like, all right, I'm gonna be the boss of this household and I'm gonna turn into a female, and then the newcomer will be a male, and then those two will actually mate for life. Now I say the boss of this household because females are primarily the protectors. They'll be the ones that will kind of scare away the other fish to kind of keep the little household safe.
And then Kathy, with having males and females, when they lay eggs, how do they do that when they are living in an anemone?
So they'll actually lay the egg outside the anemone in a hard, hard substrate, like a rock. And it'll actually typically be the males that will take care of them for a couple days, maybe like 8 days. And then all of the eggs will spawn into the water. Now each pair can probably lay around 100 to 1,500 eggs at a time. In a year, it can be 40,000 eggs that they're laying. But even with that number, only 2 of them may survive to adulthood. So they have as many eggs as possible because they know it's a big, scary world out there in the ocean and not all of them will survive. So they play the numbers game on that one.
And then with the anemones, it looks like they're actually different individual anemones on the rocks. So is that the case, or is it all just one large anemone?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. People actually think anemones are a type of plant, but they're not. They are animals in their own right. They're predators in their own right. And even if the clownfish can't really survive without the anemone, and certainly some species of anemones can't survive without the clownfish, there are around 1,000 species of anemones, and only 10 of them will have this symbiotic relationship with the clownfish. But that being said, they are individuals, so you can kind of see, maybe it's this bigger one over here. It's like a whole structure, and the bottom is actually called a foot, and the top, all those tentacles around the mouth in the center. So it is an animal and it can move. It is not stationary. If anemones don't like where they are, they feel like they're not getting enough light, they feel like the current's not quite where they want, they will detach, they will let go of that rock, and they will kind of wiggle back and forth until they find a spot that they like, and they'll settle there. And if they have a symbiotic relationship with the clownfish will move with them when that happens.
I'm assuming that that's not a fast process.
No, it is not a fast process. As much as clownfish are not great swimmers, anemones are even less great swimmers.
And since we were talking about nematocysts, I know that that is a feature that other animals have, such as jellyfish and coral. Is that a coincidence, or is that on purpose?
It is not a coincidence. So anemones belong to the phylum Niagara, and all Nigerians have a type of nematocyst. So, anemones do, but corals, as you see in our beautiful coral exhibit right here, they also have nematocysts, and it's because they're related. Also, jellyfish, as Lauren said, have nematocysts too. And if you think about it, if you take a jellyfish and a coral together, it kind of does look like an anemone.
And in that exhibit, do we have any anemones?
No, we do not. So if you look, maybe at this right here, it kind of looks like an anemone, but it is not. If you come right over here, you can kind of see that is what the underside of this coral looks like. It is a type of coral called frog spawn. So you see it's a very hard underneath and then a soft kind of fleshy top. So very, very different than the anemones that we have in our other exhibit.
Very nice. Have we had any questions?
Yes. How many clownfish are in this exhibit?
That's a great question.
I believe we have 22.
22? That sounds right.
22.
And while we're talking, actually, clownfish can live to be like 3 to 5 years. I think the longest they can live is about 10 years. But anemones, even though they have that relationship, they can live much longer, like 60 to 80 years. Do you have any other questions?
Not yet.
Don't forget, if you want to guess which type of symbiosis that is, put that in the comments too.
Yeah, and we'll let you know what the answer is in just a minute. Kathy, I noticed that there are other fish in this exhibit. Do we need to worry about that at all?
So the other fish in this exhibit are called pajama cardinals, and they're called that because they look like they're wearing pajamas. They do not have the same protection as the clownfish do, which you'll see is why they're not swimming in and out of the anemones like the clownfish do. However, they all are found on reefs in general in the open ocean, which is where the clownfish and the anemones would be found as well. So this is still very much their natural environment, and they can coexist, they can live side by side, even if they're not in the anemones like the clownfish are.
And what do we feed the animals in this exhibit?
So they all are carnivores, which if you watch some of our other videos, you'll know is something that eats primarily meat. Some of them can eat algae as well, which would make them omnivores, but our anemones are carnivores. They are predators, as I said. So we'll feed them shrimp, we'll feed them capron, we'll feed them pretty good sized chunks too. The smaller fish will feed smaller meaty items like mysis, we'll feed them krill, and then we'll feed them fried shrimp. I would say are probably the main food items that we get this exhibit. In the open ocean, anemones would probably eat small crabs, they would eat sea urchins, they'd eat small fish. Though they're not going to eat their clownfish friends, as long as they're swimming and around, helping them out.
Speaking of helping them out, do we have any other questions? Nope? No. Okay, well the other thing that we can help you out with is the answer to the question that Kathy posed at the beginning of the video, which is what type of symbiosis these two species have. So Kathy, what is the answer to that question?
So the answer is mutualism. Both species are benefiting from this relationship. The clownfish has a nice safe home, and the anemone has protection as well. They're safe from predators, and they get food in the form of waste, and they get oxygenation with the fish swimming in and out of them.
Awesome. All right, well if nobody has any other questions, we are finished with our topic today.
We actually just got one.
Awesome.
What is the water temperature?
This exhibit is about 78 degrees, so it's a very tropical warm exhibit.
That's a great question. We also have, you can kind of see, we have a lot of flow, a lot of water movement coming in here. And that is also very common in a coral reef environment. There's a high flow of water. So we try and replicate that as well as we could. You'll notice there's a lot of light coming in. And that light coming in is just like coral. Anemones also have kind of another symbiotic relationship with a type of photosynthetic algae called zooxanthellae. So they just are very helpful animals, and they seek help in lots of other ways. So they have lots of partnerships, which is very interesting.
And these anemones are tropical, but there are some that are found in cold water as well.
Yeah.
So you find them in lots of different environments. So, all right. Any other questions?
How big can a clownfish get?
This species, the clownfish that we have in here, the larger ones are as large as they will get. So that's about 3-4 inches.
I'd say. Now there are around 30 different species of clownfish, so there's certainly a lot of natural variation from species to species as well.
Okay. Well, so if we don't have any other questions, then we're going to say goodbye. But please stay tuned to our Facebook Live segments. We'll be back again tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Have a lovely day.